We're going to do facility training today. I appreciate that you voiced an interest in supporting us in that way. What we're going to do the next hour and a half is I'll introduce you to the tool room and show you where we store stuff. We're going to talk about different types of fuel. We're going to talk about putting air in tires. Then we're going to talk about operating our Kubota, the manure spreader, and ultimately our tractor.
Great.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Now, do you want to sign in before we get going here?
Yep.
Great.
All right.
Remember, if you're new, you'll have to type your name in that section, but since you've been here for a while, you can just pick it from the drop down.
All right.
Hit next.
Got a name tag.
And then hit the submit, and you should be good to go.
Great.
Okay, come with me. So our tool room is just a collection of stuff that we've acquired over the years. You are welcome to use as much or as little of it as works for you.
Okay.
So again, I'm just going to show you where the things are. If there's something that you'd like to learn how to do, you can hook up with a volunteer, an experienced volunteer, and they will teach you, those items. So maybe you can team up and work together. Now, the tool room always suffers from what my wife calls flat surface syndrome. So when people don't know where things go, they come in here and they dump them. So it's always sort of messy. I would love for you to help us clean it up right after you get to know what the space looks like. Start putting things away. It would be very helpful. So the tool room sort of starts at the end of the feed bin here. Sorry, I was about to knock that over. So these lockers here are the tool room lockers. This first locker is bits and blades and all the things that go on our power tools. So if you go in here, you're going to see drill bits and saw blades and grinder discs. There's also stuff in here that doesn't belong in here because someone did come in and do what I asked. They cleaned up, but they put spray paint in here and tape and some other things that need to go outside, and I'll show you where that goes. If you have some time after this, you could put that stuff. That's what I say to everybody. It never happens. Bottom down here is paint, and this is all brushes and stuff. I'm not going to open that up. The actual paint is outside where that spray paint should go as well. Over here are light bulbs, right? So again, pretty straightforward. And then up here are all the screws and bolts that we use around the ranch. Now this also contains some stuff like caulking that needs to go outside, but in general, there's all kinds of flavors of nuts and bolts and screws in this space. Classic work that we do around the ranch is working with wood. Most of our wood is 2x. It's either 2x4, 2x6, 2x8.
Okay.
So the weapon of choice for fixing this wood is a 3-inch decking screw. And so you'll do a lot of work with these, right? A 3-inch decking screw is a perfect size to go through a 2x. We use the ones that have a Torx head, so it has that little star bit there, right? So someone comes to you and says, "Hey, the fence rail is loose. Would you fix it?" Or any of those items like that. You're going to come in here. You're going to grab a handful of these. You're going to grab the appropriate bit. If it's not hanging on the outside of this locker, it will be inside, right? So you want the bit that actually fits the Torx head. Then you're going to take that bit over to our equipment cabinet here. Now this is where all of our power tools are stored. If it's plug-in, it obviously has a plug, but if it's battery operated, the batteries are up here. And we try to get the equipment with the same battery so they can be interchangeable. So you're going to come over here and you're going to grab either a drill or a driver. Right, so this is a drill. It does work for this kind of stuff. You put the bit in the end and tighten it up. But sometimes for doing screws, a driver is a better solution, right? So you're going to grab a battery, you're going to put the battery on, put the bit in, and the way these bits work is you pull the sleeve out and the bit locks in.
Got it.
You're going to take this, you're going to go, attach the wood or whatever. You're going to come back. You're going to put the battery back up on the charger so that the next person has a charged battery. And you're going to put the bit back here. If you have extra screws, these magnetic things are sort of where we put the stuff that we use all the time. you're welcome to put them here, or you can put them back in the container that they came in. So, again, this is all the different equipment, and whatever things you're comfortable working with, you're welcome to use in this space. Now, over here is interesting. We are your typical ranch, right? So we save all the extra material from all of our projects.
Yeah.
So you're going to find, extra things, and most of them are labeled, but not all. Extension cords, and over here there's going to be chain and rope and electrical items, and there'll be even more outside. So after a while, you're going to need to say, someone's going to say, hey, can you help me with this project? And you're going to come in here, you're going to look around, and you're going to start to remember where things are.
Yeah.
So initially you'll have to do some searching, but after a while it'll become, oh yeah, I remember seeing something like that. Mm-hmm. Over here are a bunch of containers. Some of them are labeled. Again, they're containing various items like screws and bolts and nuts and other fasteners, fuel filters. So again, after you look around in there, you'll say, oh yeah, I remember where I saw that thing, and you can come back and pick it up. Mm-hmm. In addition, we have a chop saw here that we use for our major projects. Okay. It has a stand that's on top of the lockers in the tack room. So, when we're building a bigger project, we'll take this, put it on a stand, and use it to cut the wood. There's screws here that are well used now, but they again give you some options for getting items that you need, different sizes that you might need to fix. Probably the most important thing I can show you in this space is this toolbox. This is a well-stocked and labeled toolbox, which is surprising for considering the rest of our space. So if you need a hand tool, you're going to find it in here, and they're labeled, right? So flat screwdrivers, Phillips head screwdrivers, pliers, every form of socket known to man, both 3/8, quarter-inch, and half-inch drive sockets. The drawer that I will highlight to you is the one down here that says air compressor, water hose parts. I'm not used to looking in a toolbox for that, but those items get used frequently here at the ranch. Hoses are a consumable. We have to replace them all every 6 months or so, but often there'll be a leak. And someone's going to say to you, hey, the hose is leaking. Could you fix it? Sometimes it's as easy as getting a washer and putting the washer in the end of the the nozzle, so that, again, people always end up pulling these things out, or they fall out. Mm-hmm. They put the thing back on, and then it leaks. In addition, a horse may step on the end of a hose, or you may get damaged, so you can replace the end by mm-hmm. cutting the hose off, putting on an end, and then using a clamp or other device to hold it together. We actually sort of prefer these type of repair pieces because they don't have sharp edges around them, and this is a splice, right? So you cut the hose where it's leaking, you put the two ends of the hose on, you slide these metal brackets over and clamp
just
it down.
Cut out the broken piece, basically.
Cut out the broken piece, and again, you got another 3 months of using that hose. So, and there's all kinds of stuff in here. Again, it's a little messy, but we try to keep it stocked. If you discover that something isn't in here that you need, we'd love for you to stop at Tractor Supply on the way in and buy 2 or 3 of them and add them to our collection. Cool. Questions?
Nope.
Okay, let's go do step 2, which is talking about where we store stuff. As I was mentioning in the tool room, we save all the excess equipment and all the excess material for our projects.
Just in case.
Just in case, and some of it is here, right? And again, we attempt to label it, but it's not all labeled. But what you're going to find out here is additional plumbing supplies, electric fence repair, some electrical items, extra garden hoses, which again we use all the time. There's wheels, there's all kinds of stuff. So this is an area where, again, you're going to need to get used to what's here. If you feel the urge, we'd love to have you straighten this up and label it for us, but again, as you're working on a project, you may find there's something in this space that you'll need. In addition, over here, we have 2 trailers that contain material. The White Horse trailer closest to the road, the one with the HH on the front, it contains landscaping hand tools like shovels and picks and like, as well as event material like tables and chairs and that kind of items. The black trailer that's in the middle has all the extra wood from all our projects, 4x4s, 2x4s, 2x8s. So again, if you're having to fix a fence, you may need to replace a piece of wood, and that would be in that black trailer. So if we go over here, you'll see what I was talking about from the tool room. Right? So any items that could be hazardous. So, oh, I'm sorry, our pump broke.
Uh-oh.
I just noticed that. What the hell?
Looks like it got hit.
Yeah. So anything that's potentially hazardous, we're going to store out here. So this locker, as you can see, has some fuel, oil, other additives, lubricants of all kinds. And over here we have spray paints and pesticides and treatment for mosquitoes and mud daubers, and as well as paint on the bottom. So these cabinets are designed to hold any of the items that is potentially hazardous. The spray paint from inside needs to come out here as well as the copy. The next thing I'll show you is this one locker. The rest of these lockers are full of porch material, for things for the horses, but this one here is called landscaping. And in this locker, we store the weed eaters. We obviously have a lot of weed eating to do along the bottom of the fence lines. So again, if you have experience with weed eaters, you're welcome to use these. The 2 orange ones are newer. One has a blade, one has a string. Again, you're welcome, if there's extra string in here, you're welcome to use these if you know how, or connect up with a volunteer that has experience with them.
Great.
And weed away. We lock these up because they're the one item that has been stolen from the ranch in the past. So we usually put this lock on, and although it was unlocked when we came up today, it's usually locked, and the combination is very secret.
Got it.
Now, if anyone finds out what that is, we'll know you told them. So, there we go. Now, next step. Any questions about storage of stuff?
Nope.
Okay, next step is fuel. The equipment at the ranch uses 3 types of fuel: gas, diesel, and some folks call it 2-stroke or pre-mixed. It's a combination of oil and gas. The weed eaters use 2-stroke fuel. We buy synthetic 2-stroke
Synthetic?
fuel. There we go. And it's stored in these metal cans up here, so you can see the metal cans, right? It's really a combination of oil and gas, but because of its the way it's produced, it doesn't produce. You can leave it in the equipment over the winter, right? It doesn't. When it evaporates, it doesn't produce that varnish. It causes so much trouble. The second item is gas. Gas is stored in red cans, and gas goes in the zero-turn mower and the push mower. And again, we store those red cans in this locker, but there's also some on the other side. And the third is diesel. Diesel is in yellow cans. The Kubota RTV and the tractor are diesel. Now, because we use so much diesel, we actually purchase it in bulk. So these 55-gallon drums here are diesel. I'm attempting to say that they're diesel by the yellow tape. Right? So if you were to get on one of our pieces of equipment and the fuel is low, and we'll talk about that when we get to that, and it's a diesel piece, right? You're going to pull the Kubota up here or the tractor up here, You're going to ask a friend to help you because one person is going to need to hold the hose in the fuel tank, right? Whether it's a tractor up on top or the Kubota on the side, and the other person is going to pump. Now this pump is really cool. It pumps fuel on the outstroke and the instroke, so it's about 1/4 gallon every stroke, every push. So it doesn't take very long to fill up a 10-gallon tank.
Okay.
And once the tank gets close to the top, the person's going to warn you so it doesn't overfill. You take the hose out, put the cap back on, and you're ready to go. Normally there's a 5-gallon bucket here to put this hose in so if there's any fuel that leaks out. One thing I will highlight to you is the government subsidizes farmers, and since this is a farm, we got approval to use what's called off-road or red dye diesel. So we purchase it from a special place that has a permit, and although it works just like diesel you would buy at a gas station, if you get it from a gas station, it's going to be gold color, similar to gas. But this is red. You can sort of see it down here in the filter. And it really, all it has in it is red dye. So the idea is if you put this in your pickup truck or your 18-wheeler and you get caught driving on the road with red dye diesel, you could be fined. So, just something to be aware of. But when you look at this, recognize that although it's red, it is diesel fuel.
Cool.
Questions about fuel?
Nope.
The last generic thing we're going to touch on is putting air in tires. Every piece of equipment at the ranch that has rubber tires has a slow leak in one of them. Whether it's mesquite needles or trash coming out of the ground, right, there's going to be a slow leak in one of the tires. So I'm going to tell you before you get on any piece of equipment that we're going to look to see if the tire is low. If the tire is low, you're going to put air in it, our air compressor. This air compressor was my father's air compressor. It's older than me, and it still works. So the way you turn it on is you take this plug and you plug it into this OSHA-approved extension cord, and then you turn it on with this lever here. There's an orange lever here, and it's going to make a lot of noise. So you can hear me. So what it's doing is this is an air pump and this is a metal tank, and this air pump is pressurizing that tank up to, I think it pressurizes up to like 110 psi.
Okay.
None of our equipment uses 110 psi, but when it gets to 110, this air pump turns off. And then as you use the air and it gets down to 80 psi, the pump comes back on and pressurizes again. So the air pump doesn't have to be running when you're putting air in the tire.
Got it.
Right, so you pump, turn it on, pressurize it, and you're good to go. The fun part of this is it has this very long hose, which allows you to pull the tractor up and get to the tractor tires or the Kubota. I think it would reach all the Kubota tires from here. This is a universal connection for air pumps, and if you used one, it's actually pretty easy, but it takes a little bit of practice to get used to how to make it work. So I'm going to start with this, which is a blowgun, right? So when you have pressure in the tank and you push on this lever here, it actually pushes pressurized air out. This comes in handy for doing things like dusting keyboards and computer monitors, fans in the horse's stalls, right? I mean, this thing has wheels. You can roll it over the horse's stall, plug it in, put this blowgun on and dust off all those items. So we use this quite often. The way you connect it is if you look inside there's ball bearings and there's a spring at the bottom. So, and on this thing, this is the universal connection part. Those ball bearings need to fit in this little groove right here.
Okay.
So you push this in and then you pull the collar back, right? And that allows those ball bearings to move out of the way. Then you push it down on that spring and you push the collar forward. And at that point you have an airtight connection. And when the tank is empty, it's easier because you're just pushing against the spring. When the tank is full, you're pushing against
Pressure.
so it makes it harder. But that's the idea. And also, when you take it off, you don't want to just pull this back because it will fly out and it's pressurized. So you want to hold it, you take it off.
Got it.
Now, this is what we use to put air in tires. We particularly like this because it has an integrated tire pressure gauge. Right? So you put this on the same way. Just pull that collar back, push it in. Now, the way this works is you go over to your tire, you take the cap off the valve stem, you push this on, and before you press this button, the air in your tire pressurizes this gauge. And it will tell you what the pressure is in the tire, right? Then, when you press on this lever, it allows the pressure from the tank to go into the tire, and this gauge will tell you what the pressure is in the tank. So you are welcome to read the side of every tire at the ranch to figure out exactly what the right pressure is. But you're never going to go more than 5 miles an hour at the ranch. Every piece of equipment, somewhere between 28 and 32 PSI, is going to be great. Right? In reality, all you have to do is make sure that the tire isn't bulging or flat.
Looks
If
full.
it looks full, right, you're fine. If it's bulging or flat on the way, you're going to take this over, you're going to push it on the stem. It's going to say 10 PSI. You're going to pull the trigger, and air is going to go into the tire. And you're going to wait a few moments, and you're going to lift it up, and it's going to say 12 PSI. And you're going to push it on the tire, and then you're going to wait a few minutes, and it's going to say 18. And you're going to do that 2 or 3 times until it gets to the pressure, somewhere in that 30 PSI range.
Okay.
And you're good to go.
Cool.
And again, even the big back tractor tires, they use a lot of air, but the pressure isn't any higher than 30 PSI.
Got it.
Questions about putting air in tires?
Nope.
You won't believe how many people come to the ranch who've never put air in tires. So it's a good skill that you're learning while you're here. Okay, so that's all the generic stuff. Now we're going to talk about the equipment. This is our Kubota RTV. Now, depending on the manufacturer, it's called a different thing. So what you'll find is folks will often call this whatever they were used to when they were growing up. So if it was a John Deere, it would be called a Gator. If it was a Kawasaki, it would be called a Mule. Kubota calls it an RTV. So people at the ranch who've been here a while have a tendency to call it the Mule because our previous one was a Kawasaki.
Yeah.
So understand when they're saying Mule, they're not talking about Earl. They're talking about the RTV.
Got it.
RTV stands for Rugged Terrain Vehicle. So before you get on any vehicle here, you're going to walk around, right? You're going to look at that front tire and it looks fine. You're going to look underneath to see if there's any puddles of stuff, right? So if there's a fresh big puddle of diesel fuel or you smell diesel fuel, this tire looks fine. Kubota is nice because it has the engine hanging off the back, so if it had a leak, you'd be seeing a puddle of oil underneath it. There's no leak. This tire looks fine. There's nothing on the ground underneath, and that front tire looks fine. So we're all good, right? We can get on this piece of equipment.
Okay.
If one of these tires were low, you need to put air in it before you move it. Now, the reason is, and I tell you this happens more than you think, and it happens to me, is I'll run out here not thinking, going to do something really quick, tire's flat, I back out, and as soon as I turn the wheel, the tire pops off the rail, which makes it very hard to put air in the tire versus putting air in a tire while the tire is still on the rail. So be aware.
And just from here, we'd be able to tell.
Yep, exactly. If the tire was low to the ground, it was bulging out on the sides, yeah, that's the tire that needs air.
Cool.
Okay, so before you get in, you're going to need to come back around.
Yep. Got it.
So, before you get in the RTV, you got to understand that we hide the keys on our equipment for 2 reasons. One, folks tend to park it with ignition on, and all that does is kill the battery. The tractor actually has an accessory position where if you turn it to the left, I don't know why it has an accessory position. You go into the drive-in, you want to listen to the radio, I don't know. But if you turn it to the left and leave it in accessory, or you leave this on, the battery will be dead in 4 hours. So by pulling the key out, you ensure the ignition's off. More importantly, little kids like to play on this equipment. and I am not joking, I actually had to take a metal pick and pick the wood out of the keyhole where a 7-year-old tried to start this with a stick. I can't imagine if the key was in ignition what would have happened.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to foil 7-year-olds. So the key on the Kubota is hidden under the seat. So if you would please reach in there and grab that key. There you go. Now your hand's in the video. After that, you can hop up on here.
All right.
Now we'll go over the controls. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go over the controls. We'll
Okay.
start left to right.
Okay.
So this is the only piece of equipment at the ranch that has headlights that work. So if you're doing something at night, you're going to want to use this, on and off. That's all there is to it.
Okay.
This is your emergency brake. It's very similar to the emergency brake in your car where you have to push the button with your thumb and pull it up. However, this one is on the dash and it uses the other hand and it makes it very awkward. So if you look in here, there's a little metal lever here. When you pull this back, you take the pressure off of that lever and you can push the button and it'll free up and it'll allow it to go forward.
Okay.
Now when you pull straight back, it'll click and it'll stay. So now the emergency brake is on. Now I often have to use two hands because it's awkward and the spring is pretty hard. But go ahead and try it if you could, please. Put your foot on the brake so it doesn't roll back. This is a little bit perfect.
So
That's off.
Off.
Yeah, and then pull it back and that's off. There is a red light that'll come on the dash to let you know that your emergency brake is on.
Cool.
You know what this is?
Steering wheel.
Yeah. Okay, this is the transmission. Now, I guess it's called a gated transmission in that if you want to get to reverse, you push the lever over and pull back. And if you want to get to forward, that has a high and low range. We never use the low range. You push straight up, right? So it needs to be in neutral to start. And this is the one area where, I know this equipment was ridden hard and put away wet long before we got it. This is one area where there's a challenge. What happens is you'll try to put it in gear and it won't get in gear, right? And what's happening is the transmission gears, you come up here, I'll give you a demonstration.
Yeah.
The transmission gears are binding against each other and it's not allowing them to separate. So in order to free that up, what you might have to do is rock the RTV a little bit in the opposite direction, right? So if you're trying to go in reverse and it won't go in reverse, sometimes you can simply take your foot off the brake and the RTV will roll. Just, it doesn't really have to move. It's just enough that it frees up that tension.
Got it.
But if it doesn't, then you've got to put it back in forward and go forward just a little bit. And just by a little bit, I mean
Inches.
Tiny, it doesn't, like I say, you don't even have to move. As long as you rock it forward, it will free up that binding and you'll be able to get it in gear.
Great.
If all else fails, be rough with it. Now, again, remember, it has to be in neutral to start. Neutral to start.
Neutral to start. Beep, beep. Horn.
Yes. Now, the dash is very powerful. Amazing for a little piece of equipment like this. So when it comes on, you're going to see fuel. You're going to see temperature and then speedometer, right? How fast you're going. You never run a piece of a diesel equipment out of fuel. Unlike your car, where your fuel pump will prime the system and you just put fuel in when you run out and it will start. Diesel requires you to pull all the fuel lines off the fuel rail and prime it when it runs out. So save us the trouble and don't let it run out.
Don't do
when
that.
it gets to a quarter tank, get fuel. Gets an eighth of a tank, really get fuel. Temperature-wise, this never overheats. It sort of rides at the middle level.
Okay.
And speedometer, you're going to use your right foot to make sure that you don't exceed the speed limit here at the ranch. That's specifically important when you're spreading manure. The manure spreader is designed to operate at that speed.
Got
and
it.
no faster. Now, these lights are great. What I tell folks is if you ever see a red light other than parking brake, right, stop. You can take a picture and you can call me, right? Text me, whatever. If I can, I'll come over and help you. If I can't, just leave it wherever it's at, walk on out. These things are old, they break all the time, don't worry about it. But if you see a red light, just stop.
Okay.
Now, the light that you can deal with is the park brake light, right? And you'll see that here in a second. Now below the dash is the key, right? So that's the how to turn the tractor on. I mean, turn the engine on.
Okay.
Diesels have this thing that's called a preheater, which you see that little symbol there with the coil in the middle.
Yep.
If it's below freezing, which it hardly ever is here in Texas, you might have to turn it and hold it in that position to preheat the cylinders to get it to start. We hardly ever use it. I usually just skip right over and turn the key to the on, have it start like it would a car. And you'll see that in a second.
Okay.
Between the seats,
Yeah.
there is I believe it's an orange handle.
Yep.
That is 2-wheel versus 4-wheel drive, right? So if it was a rainy day and you're out spinning manure and you start to spin, you can stop, push that lever in the opposite direction that it is, and that will engage 4-wheel drive. A green light up here will come on the dashboard that says you're in 4-wheel drive, and then your front wheels will turn just like the back wheels.
Okay.
And then after you get out, you can stop, put it back into 2-wheel drive, and it's all good.
Do you have to be moving to change it?
No, you have to be stopped.
Stopped.
Yes, so you never change it unless it's stopped.
Okay.
Now there is one other feature which is very powerful and it's not common, so I'm not expecting folks to know it. It's called a locking differential. Farm equipment has the ability to lock your differential. The differential is that little pumpkin in the back of your axle on any 4-wheel drive vehicle. And if you think about it, when you're driving a four-wheeled vehicle. If you think about it, when you're driving a 4-wheel vehicle and you make a turn, your outside wheels travel further than your inside wheels. The differential is what allows that to happen, is because it allows that inside wheel to slip while the outside wheel is powering on. That's also why if you get stuck in the mud, right, only one wheel spins on some cars, it's because of differential. Now what ag equipment will let you do is lock it, so you can lock both wheels in the back together and they'll both turn, right? It's a great way to get out of sticky situations, where you're spinning. And the way you do that is under your left heel, there's this metal pedal, right? So you would step on that pedal with your heel, push it down, and as long as you hold it down, the differential is going to lock. So the nice thing about this is you can be moving. I wouldn't be going 30 miles an hour, right? But you can be doing 2 or 3 miles an hour. Step on that with your heel, you'll hear a click. Both rear wheels will start to turn, and I'm telling you, 80% of the time, it's going to get you out of whatever you're stuck in. Then you just lift your heel off, and it goes back to the way it was. So it's the first thing that I usually do. If I'm stuck, I'll push my heel on that. If that gets me out, great. If it doesn't, I'll stop. I'll put it in a 4-wheel drive. I'll try it 4-wheel drive. And if that doesn't work, then you can do both, 4-wheel drive and that. And at that point, you're coming out of wherever you are. So that's those are the controls. Any questions about the controls?
No.
Cool. If you don't mind, hop on over here.
Yep. Action. Okay.
There we go.
Key in.
Yep. It's not starting. Why is it not starting?
Neutral.
Neutral. Oh, very good. That is the most common error everyone makes. And I do that on purpose here to force you to have to go through this scenario, because I will get a call all the time and say, I was out with a Kubota and it's, I stalled it and now it won't start. And I'll say, is it a neutral? And they'll say yes, but I'll hear, and then it will start and they'll say magic. So now you can see on the dash, there's the fuel, which you got good fuel, the temperature gauge still low, the park brake is on. So now if you turn the key, it should start. Now if you put your foot on the brake, and the park brake on, the red light goes on.
Good to go.
Yep. So now, there's one other thing that I will highlight to you about this RPD, and you can turn it off.
Yeah. Here, let's put this back on.
One other thing is the static transmission.
Okay.
So, unlike your car, you have to allow the engine to spin up a little bit before it starts driving the wheels. So when you first start driving this, it's going to feel funny because you're going to be very gentle with the gas pedal, and it's not going to move, and then it's going to move. So just be aware, and after a while you'll get used to it. in addition to the fact that it takes a little bit before it goes, when you take your foot off the gas, again, unlike your car where you coast, this slows down. So when you take your foot off the gas, you're going to get that, oh, wait, I need to slow. So for the first few times that you do this, you're going to be doing this, and we're all going to laugh at you, understand it's just our way of having fun, but after 2 or 3 times, you'll get used to it, and it'll be like anything else that you try.
Great.
Any other questions?
No?
Let's go talk about the manure spreader. So this is my favorite piece of equipment at the ranch, the manure spreader, right? So all day long, our volunteers are keeping the stalls clean. They're putting manure into those wheelbarrows. They're coming over here, pushing them up this ramp and dumping them into the spreader. Now the spreader is empty at the moment, but on rainy days, you might have to spread manure 4 or 5 times in order to keep up with it. So this is how it works. You're going to back up the Kubota to the manure spreader, and you're going to need somebody probably to help you so you can get it positioned correctly. Please remember the manure spreader has a wheel on the front, so it does move. So you can use your leg to move it around to get the hitch perfectly aligned. You're going to take the hitch on the back of the Kubota, and you're going to put it between these 2 metal bars. And this is the hitch pin. It's always hanging up here. You're going to slide this in, and there is a safety catch on it. It's a little ring clip. You pull that out. You can put that through the hole, and that will make sure it doesn't come out.
Got it.
So that's how you connect it to the RTV. You may have to raise or lower it depending on the height to get it aligned, and that's where this jack comes in. By turning it one direction, it goes down, the other direction, it goes up.
Yep.
That'll let you get it positioned correctly. Now, the most important thing I can say, because I've replaced this a bunch of times, is this jack. Even though after you hook it up, you're going to crank the jack so that it goes down and puts all the weight on the RTV. But at that point, you still can't drive away, because if you go over a crest, that wheel will hit the ground and this jack will break. So in order to fix that, you have to pivot this jack. And that's why there's signs here that say pivot jack stand before moving. So the way you pivot this jack is when the weight of this is on the RTV, and I'll simulate that here, then you can pull this lever out, right? And actually, if you could help me, since holding this up is a little harder than, can we do this?
Yeah.
Okay. You pull that lever out, then this jack will pivot up out of the way. And if you get the wheel up far enough, there's a hole over here that pin will go in.
Got it.
So that positions it so that it doesn't...
So we don't want to leave it like this.
Yeah, if you leave it like this, it'll bounce and it'll bounce down.
Yep.
I wonder how we know that.
Right.
But, you know, that's the idea. Now, when you come back, you're going to pivot this back up.
Lift it, and then
it pops
goes
back
right
in
back
with
in.
the spring. So, so that's the operation of the jack.
Okay.
Very important. Now, how does the manure spreader work? Now, normally when you're going to go spread manure, this thing is full.
Yep.
This manure spreader is ground driven. What that means is these chains that you see down here are operated by the wheels. So when you're not engaged, when these levers are both up, you're going to pull this and nothing's going to happen, right? That's just going to go wherever you want to spread manure. When you get to where you want to spread, you're going to stop the RTV, and you're going to come back and you're going to put these levers into, this one is supposed to say engage here. Push this lever down. That engages, that connects the chain to the wheels. This controls the speed. And honestly, I can never remember if the top one is fast and the bottom one is slow. But what it's talking about in speed-wise is how fast the conveyor belt moves, right? So, again, the way it works, if you want to look inside here, these chains that you saw underneath are connected to these bars, which push the manure back. And then, and one wheel operates those, and then the other wheel operates the beater bar. So that beater bar hits the manure and sprays it out the back. And the speed one determines how fast that conveyor belt moves. So theoretically, if it was a beautiful day like today, you drive this across the creek and you put this on slow and it would spray out a very fine mist. You drive around right? And you'd be enjoying the weather and the scenery and the aromatherapy that comes with spreading manure, and all is good. Now it's a rainy day, the creek is flooded, you can't get across. You're going to want to empty this faster, right? So by putting it on fast, it sprays on a thicker level and it empties more quickly. Now you can, once you're done spreading manure, right? So you're going to put that on, you're going to be back in the RTV, you're going to drive. Once you're done, you're going to be watching behind you, and every once in a while you're going to look back and you're going to say, oh, there's no more manure spraying out. You stop, you come back here, and you put this back up. And you put this back up. And now you've disconnected it again, and you're ready to bring it back up here. You can spread manure anywhere there's grass. Lots of people spread it on the trails, but I would encourage you to go between the trees and around the grass areas. It's fertilizer. It's a great way for us to maintain the grass on the property. So, however, if it's raining and you can't get across the creek, we spread manure anywhere there's grass. You want to be, again, cautious of who's here. You don't want to spread it in areas where folks are working, but along the front, on both sides of the fence, right? I have taken the manure spreader out the gate and spread the manure down the grassy area along the road. So any place there's grass that you can get to is fine. After you're done spreading manure, you're going to bring it back up here. You're going to attempt to back it into this spot. If you are great at backing up, we all applaud you. If not, we will laugh at you again, because that's what we do. After a while, you're going to get tired of attempting to back it in here. You're going to remember that this thing has a wheel, and it's light when it's empty. So you're going to put the jack stand down, you're going to jack it up, you're going to disconnect it, and you're going to simply push it back into this spot. And again, you want to get it close enough to this ramp that the wheel is not touching, but that when people bring their wheelbarrows up and the wheelbarrow wheel stops here, they can dump it in. And that's the keys to spreading manure. Any questions?
No?
Anything I could cover more clearly?
Nope.
Good. Cool.